Welcome to the stage, Chris Hume, Homeport's board chair.
Good evening, and welcome to Homeport's 2019 and 5th anniversary of our Voice and Vision Award. 32 years ago, with the vision and leadership of MI Home CEO Irving Schottenstein, the organization now known as Homeport was created to address the need for affordable housing. Tonight, we honor Irving's legacy by presenting MI Homes with our 5th annual Voice and Vision Award. We're delighted that Irving's son, MI Chairman, President, and CEO Robert "Bobby" Schottenstein will accept this honor in memory of his dad and for his company's unbroken commitment to our mission. Thank you. We've got an outstanding program tonight, and we hope that when you leave this evening, that you'll have a deeper understanding of why affordable and workforce housing remains among the most important topics facing Central Ohio. As we start this evening, it's critically important that we thank our sponsors, beginning with our strong community sponsors, MI Homes and Ohio Capital Corporation for Housing. Also, please recognize our cornerstone sponsors, American Electric Power, Easton Community Foundation, Huntington National Bank, Kelly Companies, L Brands, MI Homes Board of Directors, Rockford Homes, the Robert Weiler Company, and Wallach Communities. A special thanks to our education and power sponsors, Buckeye Lifestyle and Team Fishel. And finally, let's hear it for our opportunity sponsors, Columbia Gas of Ohio, Columbus Realtors, Donald R. Kenny and Company, Fifth Third Bank, Installed Building Products, Mark and Kelly McCullough, PNC, First Federal Bank, Schottenstein Real Estate Group, and Live Technologies. Thank you, and thank you all sponsors and supporters of Homeport. We'd also like to acknowledge the public officials or their representatives in attendance from the state, local, and federal levels. Please stand to be recognized. I know that I saw former Mayor Coleman here. Mayor Joseph Barnes of Urban Crest. Mayor Kim Maggard, and I will ask her, she does not have to stand. She's spouting a broken foot tonight. So thank you at least for making the effort of being here tonight. I also saw Rita Parise from the City of Columbus. Thank you for being here, Rita. And if I've missed anyone, please let me know. Please stand. Thank you. Thanks to each and every one of you for joining us this evening. We value our public and private sector partners as critical to our ongoing success. Now let's hear how Homeport is working to close the gap on affordable housing, focus on our residents, and cultivate partnerships in the community.
I love the way that Homeport talks about closing the gap, because for most people, they may not understand what that gap is. And when they learn of the dramatic needs that we have right here in the community, and they see corporations and entities like MI Homes stepping up, we need more of that, frankly, in order so that all of us can have the optimal quality of life in Central Ohio.
Welcome to the stage, Homeport's board member, Michael Kelly.
As you just heard from Doug Ullman, Homeport is raising awareness about the need for affordable housing and calling upon the community to join together. Homeport counts on outstanding companies like MI Homes. These companies provide support and partnership, and they provide sources of real estate deals, expertise, capital, volunteers, and governmental advocacy. Another outstanding partner of Homeport is Casto Communities. Homeport is currently working together with Casto on the development of a 180-unit mixed-income apartment community in Clintonville at the Graceland Shopping Center. In our own family's business, we've seen the tremendous value of partnerships. If not for our trusted partners, like the Weiler family, we may not still be in business. But successful partnerships aren't easy. They require certain shared values: hard work, humility, trust, and a shared commitment to the common good over and above any individual member. For as long as I've been a member of Homeport's board, I've seen those core values in Homeport's leaders and in their staff. And that's why I know that Homeport will be successful in continuing to build partnerships. And through those partnerships, continuing to build homes and closing the gap on affordable housing. Thank you for your continued support for the work we do here at Homeport. Now you're going to hear from some of our partners. I hope you'll conclude that together we can make a difference.
It's another great example of the Columbus way. We've continued to talk about affordable housing being an issue here. And so what you've seen just in the last several months during the course of this year, for the first time ever, the city put a neighborhood development issue on as part of our bond package in May that passed with the highest levels of support we've ever seen for those issues in the city's history. And that neighborhood development fund will serve as kind of seed funding for the partnership around affordable housing. Then you saw the announcement of the Housing Action Fund, $100 million, primarily driven by the private sector, banks, financial industry, financial services, all stepping up to provide additional resources to help this. And then the county commissioners showed incredible leadership, stepping up and contributing significant amounts of money through the increase in the conveyance fees solely designated for affordable housing. So the city, the county, the private sector continuing to work together in the Columbus way. Because we think we do public-private partnerships better here than anywhere in America. And affordable housing should be a top priority for all of us as we move forward in this great time of growth for the community, but also when folks are starting to feel the pressure, particularly around housing, because of that growth.
Well, Central Ohio has compelling needs, and they exist today, and they're only going to get more challenging going forward. So we're looking for different ways to impact and accelerate affordable housing opportunities and the availability of housing units. A couple of months ago, we announced the Housing Action Fund in Columbus. We are the largest contributor. It was our idea to try and establish the capacity to make significant investments. Almost think of it as a revolving fund. So there's a property that typically would take many months, if not a year or so, to raise the funds to acquire. They can acquire it now in the Housing Trust overnight, and then raise the funds and other financing sources to repay that initial advance. But they're not exposed to losing the property to other buyers during that interim period of time. It's a very hot property market. So this will substantially increase the amount of affordable housing, and I think I view it as on a multiplier basis. If we're really good over the next 15 years, that fund should turn every year and a half, 2 years, and that's about $1.5 billion to $2 billion of affordable housing that otherwise the majority of which I don't think would be available.
It's very difficult to find sites, and I would urge communities to help us find sites. The actual suburban communities and urban locations are all in need of affordable housing, but the sites are so hard to come by, and they're so hard to get zoned when you do find them. So one thing I would encourage is the actual municipalities to help find those sites, help steer us to locations where they know we can get this done, but not second-rate locations, not locations that are cast-offs. These need to be places that anyone would love to live, and you need to mix it in with the existing neighborhoods and not be afraid to do that at high densities.
What we love is opportunities to partner and do things that are innovative. So on our phase 2 of our Gravity project, we've partnered with Homeport to build about 60 affordable housing units on an adjacent site. And that's truly a public-private partnership where the city is providing the land. We're able to build the parking and some shared amenities at a really, and provide a really great experience for those future residents. And then Homeport comes in and does what they do so well on that site. Wouldn't be possible without all those three components coming together, and now we're able to provide 60 affordable units.
I think I'd like to ask everybody in attendance tonight to think hard about what you can do as an individual and as a company to advance the mission of Homeport. We all have different skills, we have different financial abilities and constraints, but we all have the ability to understand that this is important to our community. Affordable housing is a critical component to a community's success and growth. So engage in a little introspection and think what you can do.
If you think about an anchor, the stability of safe housing in terms of the success ultimately of the family, keeping the family unit together, keeping the kids in the same school, having the ability to get into whatever the patterns are for work or other flows, and just ensure success. So we see housing as integral to the future of Columbus, the health and vitality of the community.
Welcome to the stage, Homeport board member, Robert Chilton.
Stability. It is a word Huntington Chairman, President, and CEO Steve Steinauer uses with great seriousness, as he should, considering he oversees a bank with the most home loans in Ohio. His message is clear. Want to scramble a child's future? Send him or her to a different home, neighborhood, or school every year. Want to confine an adult to a stressful, toxic, paycheck-to-paycheck existence? Have him or her transiently move about, perhaps to a distance far from work. Homeport's affordable rents create stability. On average, residents of our multifamily apartments live with us for 5.5 years. Almost triple the average length of time tenants stay at market rate apartments. Besides affordable rent, the secret to our success is resident service coordinators. Service coordinators are our eyes and ears. In 2018, they connected over 700 residents to service providers, education programs, parenting resources, food, furniture, medical services, and financial assistance. Last year, service coordinators linked our residents to almost $75,000 in financial assistance, preventing 61 evictions at Homeport properties. These are just a few of the reasons why I am proud to serve on the board of Homeport. As CEO of Impact Community Action, I see families in crisis every single day. While the challenges are great, so too is our collective resolve to make this community a place where all have the opportunity to prosper. We know that strong communities begin with safe, stable, and affordable housing. Homeport continues to be at the forefront, pushing to ensure that every resident has a place to call home. Thank you for your continued support for the work that we do here at Homeport. Now, we will hear how caring staff and affordable rent combined to create a cornerstone of stability for a young, struggling mom, creating a future that today includes being a college instructor and a PhD candidate.
I think it takes all of those things. It's like cooking a great cake. You must have all of the ingredients if you want good results from that cake. And so I think that we bring all of those ingredients that does impact a family from a holistic approach.
my way to finishing up my degree, being promoted to the state of Ohio, and I got involved in this very unhealthy, traumatic relationship. And at that point in time, domestic violence didn't have a name. You were shamed. It wasn't what we're looking at today. I decided to leave. My life became very, very dark when I entered into this, after I entered into this relationship. And so I left town for 6 months, took my sons to my mom, and I left town for 6 months. And then I was purchasing a house. I left my house, I left my job, my state job, I left everything to get away and start over fresh. And so I came back, and that's when I met Miss Maud. And so through Homeport, she provided a housing opportunity for me and my sons, for my sons and I. So we were able to retain that relationship. I mean, we stayed consistent. And so I have been very, very blessed to have her in my life.
And so Stephanie was referred by Mrs. Jones through the WAIT program to Columbus Housing Partnership. So we met at one of our apartment complex by the Wee Village, and showed her this apartment. She loved the apartment because it was giving her an opportunity to get her life back on track, helped her fill out the application, and we helped with getting her furniture, working with the WAIT program, and she had the cutest little apartment. And so I made a commitment that I really wanted to work with her to get her back into Main Street.
I only had a year and a half left for college, for my undergrad. So therefore, I went back into my undergrad degree and got my business degree. Then I got my MBA. And at that time, still working and taking care of them 3 little people. But by then, they were growing and being nurtured into young men, and they were in middle school and high school. They were in high school at the last home that I had received from Maud in Homeport. They were in high school. And so that's when my first son moved, and then my middle boy went to college. I have a key set of women that are like my mentors, and they empower me. They speak light to me, and that's what Miss Maud continues to do throughout the entire journey with Homeport. And that's how I met her, through Homeport. Affordable housing is needed not only for the housing piece, but for empowerment with our families and our communities. Because if they have housing, and if they have that core support, then everything else will follow into place. I would like to dedicate this moment to my father, who we lost unexpectedly in April. He loved Miss Maud. He loved Homeport. He was my superhero, and he was the one that was instrumental in keeping me lifted.
At the end of the day, our economic success will be completely dependent on talent and available talent, and that means we've got to continue to grow. But that means we have to do it across a spectrum of, workers, and making sure that that spectrum of workers have affordable housing, especially on the lower end, that they're not disproportionately spending their dollars, for, housing. It can be a competitive advantage.
Welcome to the stage, Homeport board member, Sarah Nykirk.
As you just heard from Alex Fisher, The lack of affordable housing affects all of us, the entire region. It affects businesses and schools, neighborhoods, communities, and certainly families. In addition, we predict an additional 1 million people to call Central Ohio home by 2050. Even without that growth, we cannot afford to ignore our neighbors who are struggling to pay their rent. Who of us could imagine going to bed tonight and wondering if tomorrow is the day the eviction notice will be on the door? When thousands of families experience that every day, the stress affects all of us. Another path to stability is helping Central Ohio families purchase homes. In 2018, 502 individuals completed Homeport's buyer education class. And in 2018, 302 individuals purchased homes up to $50 million. That makes an impact. In addition, 404 families completed our credit counseling and financial management class, some of them our own Homeport residents. I'm a longtime, proud Homeport board member. I've worked with homeless and marginally housed people for many years. I am firmly convinced no family can face the future with hope without a stable, affordable place to live. Your support makes a difference. Now let's hear a Homeport success story. A mother and her daughter, each of whom have recently purchased homes they were leasing from Homeport.
Some other people, like Anika, she has some financial challenges through all those years. But one thing she had is focus on being homeowner. She wanted to be homeowner, and she always went working into those challenges. And next time, it was one less in the list and one less in the list until she actually was able to say, now I am ready and now I'm buying my house.
I think the biggest thing that I learned from Homeport, like my mom said, is that to everything in life, there's a process. So if you take that entire process, you break it down into steps, make it more manageable, it's more reachable, it's more attainable, it can become your reality. So just one step at a time. And those are some of the things that, you kind of know, but you miss until someone teach you, okay, let's work on your credit first. Now let's work on budgeting. Now let's work on banking. Now let's look at taxes. Now let's look at interior and exterior maintenance so that when you do get the home, you know how to keep it so that you don't lose it. Those are things that, you don't learn that in school. You don't even learn it in college.
Kanika was always excited, but you could see she was a little apprehensive, and making that step. So we held her hand all the way through, and any questions she had, I told her she could call me at any time. We would answer it. She got through all of her classes. She started feeling comfortable. So I reminded her, hey, your mom's partnership is coming up next year in a few months. So tell her about your experience so she can get that great opportunity too.
I just thought you had to have a lot of money to own a home, put it that way. And then when my daughter went through it, she told me about it in the process, and you can get it and you'll be paying, you'll be paying cheaper rent or about the same, but you'll own it. And then plus, I really didn't like the idea of moving. I don't like moving. I like to just be in a place and just be there. I just want to thank Homeport for giving me the opportunity to own my own home and educate me about owning my home, and I didn't have to be afraid.
I never even thought that I could own a home, let alone renting a home as nice as this. So to rent something that someone had never even lived in, was a big thing for me. This is the home where I raised my daughter at. My daughter's about to be 21, and she now has an example. So Homeport gave me a chance, whereas other programs, the only thing I was eligible for was a little small, tiny, 1-2-bedroom apartment, low income housing. This here, affordable housing, I don't even know how to put it in accurate terms. It just gave me showed me a whole new way of living. And so the fact that they believed in me, the fact that they gave me a chance, and the fact that they worked with me and educated me. I've spent 15 years, total of 18 years with this program, and not one time did they renege on what they said they would do. Everything that they said they would do from day one, 15 years ago, me as this 20-year-old young adult, they kept their word. And here I am today, a totally different woman, a transformed woman through this program. I mean, this program, I would tell anybody else, if you see a Homeport sign and it says for rent or for lease, jump on it. Call them, work with them, because it's possible.
Welcome to the stage, Bruce Lukey, Homeport's president and CEO.
Well, that was a pretty powerful video. Thank you all for coming tonight. At Homeport, we strive daily for successes like Kanika and Essie to help families find security and dignity and opportunity through housing, service coordination, and financial education. We're blessed with such a very talented and dedicated staff. And in fact, I'd like to take this moment to ask the Homeport staff in the room to please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. In addition to that special group, we have another special group, and that's our fabulous board led by Chris Hune. So I'd like our board members in the room to please stand up and be recognized. We have, as was talked about before, a growing partner list, and you can tell from this room, many very generous sponsors. 2019 has been an amazing year at Homeport, and we still have 2 months to go. So perhaps the most poignant moment for me this year came back in August on the sidewalk behind our Eastway Village Community Center in Whitehall. It was there that a long line of families, including smaller children, waited for hours to participate in the lease-up of our brand new Blacklit Crossing apartment community being built in Reynoldsburg. Some of those applicants camped out in the darkness of the early morning hoping to improve their chances to lease an affordable 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. And as I walked the line and I spoke with the applicants, who were social services workers, healthcare workers, customer service reps, individuals on fixed incomes, a common theme emerged. Their incomes were being outpaced by the escalating rents in Central Ohio. Unfortunately, many that day and the day after did not get chosen for Blacklit Crossing. And how could they? There were 126 applicants for only 30 apartments. And that did not include more than the 300 others who inquired over the phone. So you see, the story of Blacklit Crossing is a microcosm of a community challenge. more than 54,000 local families are spending over 50% of their incomes on rent. And quality, affordable, energy-efficient homes and apartments close to schools, close to work, are becoming harder to find, particularly with our area's record-breaking population growth. We simply can't build fast enough. But before we groan collectively, let me share some glimmers of hope. There's a growing awareness of the need for affordable housing and workforce housing, and the work we do to close the gap and create stability. For example, roughly 3 weeks after our experience at Blacklit Crossings lease-up, Casto Communities announced a joint venture with us. Of the 180 apartments that will soon be built at the back of Casto's Graceland Shopping Center in historic and vibrant Clintonville, half of them will be designated for working families. That means people making up to $60,000 will be able to afford a quality place to live in a great neighborhood. Thank you. For 3 decades, the federal low-income housing tax credit program has been the standard mechanism to finance affordable housing development. And this year, for the first time in over a decade, I am very proud to say that Homeport was awarded 2 tax credit awards from the Ohio Housing Finance Agency out of a total of 30 around the state. Those 2 awards will create a 32-apartment second phase of our popular Hamilton Crossing senior community in Whitehall, and 50 affordable apartments and single-family homes in North Linden. We need many more financing options, and I'm proud to say that the community is acting. As Mayor Ginther noted, Columbus voters in May committed $50 million for affordable housing. In June, government, civic leaders, foundations, and a cavalcade of financial institutions announced a $100 million revolving fund for affordable housing. And then in August, the Franklin County Board of Commissioners approved a $1 conveyance fee increase that can raise an additional $6.5 million annually for affordable housing. For 32 years, Homeport has been a leader in building affordable homes in Central Ohio. We take great pride in the communities that we develop, but also for maintaining a laser focus on the 6,300 residents who call Homeport home. And it's a similar winning philosophy of tonight's Voice and Vision honoree, M.I. Homes. M.I.'s founding CEO, Irving Schottenstein, was also a founder of Homeport. And while I regret not having the opportunity to meet Irving before his passing in 2004, I do know firsthand that his son Bob embodies that same commitment to our community. M.I. has not only been a key financial supporter of Homeport, but Bob and the M.I. team have shared valuable time and expertise and advice, all of which has greatly benefited Homeport and particularly me. Thank you, M.I., for all your help. Homeport knows success comes from working effectively with its partners, along with the public and private sectors, within our neighborhoods, and the residents that live within those neighborhoods. And we're also encouraged by the growing interest that the community is showing in our residents. A wonderful example occurred in July when Columbus-based Value City Furniture redesigned our Marsh Run Apartment Community Center, the same center that was previously expanded through the generosity of AEP. It was so gratifying to see our residents, both the kids and the adults, enjoy the updated space and the $20,000 in new furniture and furnishings that Value City Furniture provided. In closing, Continually doing business the same way is simply not enough. A focused core purpose, accelerated by innovation and creative partnerships, is critical to meeting the housing needs of the people we serve. The housing gap must be closed, and we look forward to working together with our partners to do it. Now, before we get on with recognizing our Voice and Vision honoree, I would like to take this time to introduce members of Columbus Commercial Industrial Investment Realtors. This past year, CCIIR organized, for the 7th year in a row, a golf tournament to help raise funds for Homeport. CCIIR members also took a bus tour this year to learn more about Homeport, and when the bus stopped, its members got off, and then they weeded, they stained, and they painted our Eastway Village community. For its continuing interest and commitment to our organization, I am proud to announce that CCIIR is the 2nd ever Spirit of Homeport Award winner. So would CCIIR's Randy Best and Travis McIntyre please join me up here on stage.
Thank you, Bruce. This is the first time I'm at this facility, by the way. This is a beautiful facility. This is just wonderful. And I'm happy that all of you didn't go to St. Charles first when you came here. So. Anyway, it's an honor on behalf of CCIIR to accept this Spirit of Homeport Award. For those of you that are not familiar with CCIIR, we are the Columbus Commercial Industrial Investment Realtors, and we were formed in 1974 to promote the advancement in knowledge and education integrity of the real estate community. We have many events throughout the year, and some of those events we look to see who we can honor and benefit. And as a board, we looked at many different nonprofit organizations. And this is back in 2013, actually. Homeport obviously rose to the top. I mean, you saw the video up here, the people that are impacted, and we definitely wanted to be a part of that. So we thank you for letting us do that. As was mentioned, we have a Realtor Care Day, which usually involves about 41 projects throughout Columbus on one day. I think maybe this day was June 6th. And one year we went to the American Edition and did the community center. I think it was the Trey Lee Center is what it was called. And we got donations for that. Home Depot donated the paint. We were able to get our hands dirty. It was kind of fun with bankers like Travis here, First City Bank, and myself, realtors who usually are typing on keyboards. And we got our hands dirty, paint on our clothes. it was kind of fun hanging out. But anyway, it's a great day. And this year was Eastway Village. So, and it was, and for myself, I'd like to say that, we had a good time that day working and planting and painting and staining, but was really the lift for me was when some of the residents came out and just noticed what was happening. And so we really enjoyed that, and thank you for allowing us to be that. Again, I want to thank allowing us here to CCAAR for the Spirit of Homeport Award, and we would like to thank all of you, the volunteers who volunteer your time for Homeport. We are honored by this award. We are humbled by this award. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the stage, Bob Weiler, Chairman of the Board, the Weiler Company.
Good evening. Anybody out there? Good evening. Thank you. I'm the luckiest guy in this beautiful room. Why? Because I get to introduce one of our city's greatest leaders, a good friend of mine for over 40 years, and I also have the opportunity to reminisce for a few minutes about another great person who you've heard already, our founder of MI Homes, Robert Schottenstein. What better way to celebrate than here in the Irving Schottenstein Center? If it were not for Irv and Don Kelly, we very well might not have been here today. Because back in 1987, these two respected community leaders got together after listening to James Roush of the Enterprise organization, and the two of them, these two community leaders, then got the builders, the realtors, the faith community, the Columbus Foundation, the City of Columbus, and the realtors, don't want to forget them, and formed what became the foundation of Columbus Housing Partnership, now known as Homeport. Irving was, as you know, MI CEO and co-founder with his cousin Mel Schottenstein. This was 43 years ago. He had the unique combination, Irv did, of being a real visionary, a guy who thought he could take a company from ground zero, which he did, to being the dominant home builder in the entire region. But in addition to that, he was also a hands-on guy, incredibly hands-on. And so with those two attributes, he formed and what has now become the dominant residential building company in the Midwest. Irv's philosophy was that he would construct, this is, a quality home at the best value with absolute integrity, and he guaranteed that the customer was always right. Even when the customer was wrong, the customer was always right. And Bob has continued that philosophy today with MI Homes. Never wavered from that belief. After Irv's son, Bob Schottenstein, graduated from the University of Indiana and Capital University Law School, Bob joined the Schottenstein Law Firm. And it was assumed, at least by some of us, that Bob someday would take over the Schottenstein firm. But his dad, Irv, had a different idea. And you know the saying about the acorn not falling far from the tree? Well, in this case, it's a buckeye not falling too far from the tree. OH? Okay, I wanted to make sure you're still awake. Thank you. And so Bob, of course, joined the company. And Bob also inherited his dad's concern for the less fortunate, holding the belief that everyone deserves to have a clean, safe, affordable house. And when Irv died in 2004, Bob took over as chairman of the company and also chief executive officer, having served as president since May of 1996. And under Bob's leadership, MI has become one of the country's largest home builders, with its home office here in Columbus, as you know, but also with tremendous residential communities in over a dozen other cities and in states from Texas to Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Indiana, Washington, D.C. Bob has led MI in these expanding markets with revenue for 2018 year end of over $2.3 billion. That's with a B. Now, if Don Kelly had realized how profitable MI would become, he would have certainly raised his lot prices back a number of years ago when he and Irv were negotiating. And what fun it was to watch these two millionaires negotiating over lot prices when you would think that their next meal was in doubt. But they were best friends, and at the same time, they both wanted to make a good transaction. By the way, while Irv bordered on being a workaholic, he always made time for his friends and for helping others. And the very same can be said for Bob. As successful as Bob has been as a businessman, his legacy will be his community and nonprofit accomplishments. From 2005 to 2014, Bob served as a trustee of The Ohio State University and was named chairman of the board in 2012 to 2014. And as you may know, Ohio State was in the spotlight. You'll recall the football glory years under Urban Meyer, who also presented some challenges, which Bob handled adroitly under the national spotlight. And we can say that we were proud to see him representing the university. He has served as a director of numerous boards, including Huntington Bank Shares, also active in numerous nonprofits, receiving honorary degrees from Ohio Dominican, Capital University Law School, and numerous other awards and recognitions, far too many to take your time. They're in the book, and even those are a partial list. Recognized as Central Ohio's BIA Builder of the Year, Bob has remained active in his field, a hands-on guy, just like his dad. What friends of Bob will tell you, as will I, he is one of the kindest, most considerate persons I know. Because of Bob, Columbus has become a better place to live and raise a family. And for all his achievements, Bob has remained humble and grounded. While this award was intended for Bob, and that was what our planning was to be, his acceptance was conditional on the recipient being MI Homes. Therefore, with great pride, I present the leader of MI Homes, Bob Schottenstein.
In 1984, I was president of the Board of Realtors, and I wanted to involve the real estate board more in community aspects. And Irv wanted to do that with the home builders. And we got off and started called the Columbus Housing Partnership.
We're very lucky to have an organization like MI Homes. And it goes back 32 years. Irving Schottenstein, one of the founders of MI, felt very strongly about affordable permanent housing and was behind the startup of Homeport. And 32 years later, MI continues to be a strong supporter of ours.
I would just say with Mel Schottenstein and Irv, the two of them were so good together. Mel with the banking contacts and the other community contacts. Irv building up this company, which turned out to be one of the major home building companies in the country. And a lot of the positive traits of both Mel and Irv are what Bob Schottenstein is today.
Irving Schottenstein had a strong respect in this community. And not only did he have a strong respect, but he was able to do things and get things done that others could not do.
Irving and Bobby are very much alike. The apple did not fall far from the tree. And Irving was a very generous man. And I don't think there was anything that anybody ever approached him about community good, supporting virtually anything. And he would just say, yeah, it's really important. Yeah, we got to get on that kind of enthusiasm. And Bobby shares that.
Well, you spend any time with Bob Schottenstein, he's a man who lives his values. And his company and their investments and the way they do their work, the boards that he serves on, the philanthropy that they're involved with, he's a guy who lives his values.
The company you're honoring, MI, is a fabulous company, and what Bob Schottenstein has done is taken that from his uncle and his father and has taken it, exponentially in terms of not only creating value for his shareholders, but creating value for the communities that he serves.
Bobby is unique as at some level, a founding CEO, family company that now is, on the New York Stock Exchange and has this, multinational success, all over the country, but yet still has the ethos that his dad started with, and that Bobby, is just, such a part of the culture of commitment to Columbus and all things Columbus.
So MI Homes has obviously been a pillar of the home construction industry here in Central Ohio for decades. And I can say without equivocation at all that they've got an absolute sterling reputation in terms of both the quality of the product that they build and the quality of the business that they've built. And they care quite a bit about not only the customers, but also about the community.
I think that the family is authentically and genuinely believes in housing as a human right. I think that that's an inspiring thing that can be felt through an inspiring purpose that can be felt throughout the organization.
I remember actually talking with and spending time with Bobby, thinking about building and development and all the things that make for a neighborhood and for a great space. And he's had a long and broad view of that, and a lot of that's come to bear in his work with our medical center and helping us to envision what the future is going to look like. There are places that you live and there's your home. The things that help make Columbus home to so many people come from the great heart of the leading citizens of the community, and Bobby Schottenstein certainly is one.
I think one of the remarkable things about MI Homes and under Bobby's leadership is that they're involved in so many things in the community. And so they haven't chosen one thing over another. They've said, look, what's good for the community at large and how can we invest our resources and our talent and treasure to impact the most people? And they've done that through Pelotonia and they've done that through numerous other organizations as well. And I think the compassion and the generosity and the leadership that we see from first Irving and now Bob and the whole MI Homes team is pretty inspiring.
Think of some of the great housing organizations in Columbus today, Homeport, Community Shelter Board, and others. And Irving was an inspirational leader and founder of a number of these really significant housing agencies and organizations today. Bobby has continued that. He has been an outstanding leader, somebody who deeply cares about affordable housing and has done a remarkable job over many, many years.
I just want to offer my congratulations to Bobby and the entire MI Homes team for all that you do for Homeport and all that you do for Columbus and Central Ohio. It is impacting the lives of so many people, and we are all eternally grateful.
I'd like to say congratulations to MI Homes for this prestigious award.
Congratulations to MI Homes and Bob Schottenstein for being honored tonight. It certainly is a well-deserved honor, and I'm hopeful that you'll continue the wonderful growth that you've experienced in the last decade into many decades to come.
I would like to say congratulations to MI Home, and we're delighted to have you as our recipient this year.
Bobby, I'm really happy that I know you. I'm just delighted to live a life and share the community with you. You're a pillar of the community and an important part of the community and genuinely important part of my life. Thank you.
I would like to extend my sincerest and heartfelt congratulations to the entire team at MI Homes for the incredible work that you've done, not only in our community, but with the organization of Homeport. I'd like to say congratulations and bravo to Bobby for carrying on your father's and your uncle's legacy in this organization. You've laid the foundation that will be a sustainable legacy for generations to come, and I'm so proud to have the opportunity to serve on the MI Homes board for this organization, and so happy to have this chance to say, you rock, Bobby.
Bob, congratulations to you and your team. And I know how much this means to you. I know how much it meant to your dad. And so to accept this reward or this award is truly fitting for a company like yours.
Bobby, special evening. Congratulations. Celebrate. Very well earned.
Bobby, thank you to you and MI Homes for continuing this incredible legacy of involvement. Certainly, your dad couldn't be more proud. I know he is smiling on this moment, but more importantly, smiling on how you personally and the company and all of the associates continue this great legacy that he started many years ago, but that most importantly, you all are continuing.
Let me also congratulate Bobby Schottenstein on this well-deserved honor.
Congratulations to the incredible people at MI Homes and to Bob Schottenstein for your leadership, your vision, and everything you've done to help increase safe, affordable housing in our region.
Presenting the 2019 Voice and Vision Award recipient, Robert Schottenstein, accepting for MI Homes.
There's no way I deserve all that. My goodness, I'm speechless. First of all, thank you, Bob Weiler. We wouldn't be in this room if it weren't for you either, and the role that you played in those early years with Homeport and the inspiration. Thank you for raising our lot prices, but thank you for being a great, great friend. I also want to thank my family, some of whom are here tonight, my brother, my nephew, my wife Jerry, my son Josh, my daughter Jaja, and the rest of my family that couldn't be here. Would be nothing without them. And also want to acknowledge there's a lot of people here tonight that I have the pleasure, the honor, and the privilege to work with every single day, and who really are responsible for so much of the good. And I think we do a lot of good at MI, but are so responsible for the good that happens at MI Homes. And the other thing I want to say before I maybe just offer up a few remarks is I know there's a lot of great theaters like, Carnegie Hall and the Disney Center, but let's face it, the nicest theater in the country is the Irving Schottenstein Theater. So I'm really glad to be here in New Albany, in this special place. Among other things, my dad had great, great passion for development, and he was extremely, extremely inspired by the development of New Albany. But it is a special honor for me to accept this Voice and Vision Award on behalf of our company, and really in honor of my dad. As you've heard, our company has enjoyed a long and I think very proud history of supporting Homeport and its core mission of creating individual opportunity and dignity and stability through quality, affordable housing and strong communities. You've heard a little bit about the history. I thought I might add my own little take on it. And if I misstate anything, there's a couple of people sitting out here that know it better than me, and they'll correct me later. But it was back in 1986 when, frankly, one of the most dynamic and caring and real estate developers, I think real estate developers are a caring group, and no one personified it more from coast to coast than this guy from Columbia, Maryland, which is just outside of Baltimore, by the name of Jim Rouse and his foundation. And Jim, not sure why, but he woke up one day and started to care about affordable housing. Not that he or his company could profit from, but that for the greater good. And he began to make trips across the country, Boston, Cleveland, his own backyard, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Columbus, to sell an idea. And when he visited Columbus, I think I'm right about this, he was particularly inspired by the fact that there was passion and a real strong sense of community here. And he soon realized that Columbus might be willing to take the ball and run with it, as he had hoped might happen from this visionary idea he had about creating more effective public-private partnerships in support of helping those that need it most. So shortly after Jim's visit, you heard Bob Weiler recount some of this, and I loved listening to it again. A number of local developers, with the help of city leaders, initiated a campaign to raise a lot of money, and it was several $1 million at that time, which that's a lot today. It was really a lot back in the mid-'80s. And the whole idea was, how are we going to pay for providing housing for people that need it most? And there were many people that were involved in that at the time, and I would be remiss for not mentioning all of them, but I do think it's fair to say, and they go all the way back to their days, at South High School, no one was more inspiring or more important in my dad's passion for this than Don Kelly, who Dad had enormous, enormous respect for, maybe because they were part of that South Side rat group when they were growing up. But Dad loved Don Kelly, also loved the fact that Don was a major Buckeye and still is, and he also loved Bob Weiler. And their influence on him really pushed him, and everybody needs to be pushed a little. And even though they did business together and often competed, at their core they shared a very important value, and that was this need to provide housing, again, for those that need it most. So within a year after that first visit by Jim Rouse, an organization called the Columbus Neighborhood Partnership, which is now, as you know, known as Homeport, was formed. The other interesting thing that happened was my dad's partner. Everybody thinks it was my uncle, but Mel and Dad were first cousins. Mel was like a second father to me, but he was a cousin of mine. And as passionate as my dad was for this idea that later became Homeport, Mel was equally passionate about housing for those that are homeless. And Irving became a founding board member of Homeport. Mel became the driving spirit and founding board member of what is now known as the Community Shelter Board. When I think of what I'm most proud of at our company, MI Homes, it's the role that M and I and M played in these two bookend initiatives, which have all to do with providing people a place to sleep when they go to bed at night. So today, 32 years later, I think it's safe to say, for all the reasons that we've heard tonight, that Homeport is as strong as it's ever been, and probably more important than it's ever been in fulfilling the dreams of its founders. There remains so much work to be done, but you've heard about some of the things that have happened most recently that I think have the opportunity to change the trajectory of this organization and to accelerate the great work that's been done. You heard about the Whitehall apartment complex, the single-family homes in Linden. The fact that the Columbus voters in May committed effectively $50 million to spur affordable housing. And perhaps most important, you heard the mayor talk about, you heard Steve Steinauer talk about on the video, this $100 million fund that is called a Housing Action Fund will be managed by the Affordable Housing Trust for Columbus that will help provide not just, so we don't just have to rely on the tax credits that Bruce spoke about, but this will help give even more fuel for the engine that drives this affordable housing initiative. And there's more that can be done too. And very honestly, the for-profit development community needs to do more than we've done. And we have some ideas about what to do, and we intend to begin to execute on those. Perhaps most important though, and there's been a lot of comments about the Buckeyes tonight, and one of my favorite lines, which my dad repeated all the time, was first coined by Woody Hayes: "You win with people." And that's true of Homeport too. And when you look at Homeport today, with an incredibly strong leadership team led by Bruce Lukey, and supported by an incredibly capable board led by Chris Yoon, we can really win with those people. And how grateful I am, and I think all of us should be. They do the work every day. They're the ones that really make this all happen. So I think that I'm extremely proud. I'm very humbled. This award belongs to my dad, first and foremost. It belongs to everyone that works at MI Home secondarily. But we're very proud to continue and to build upon the legacy and the passion that he had for this organization. And I think that at this particular time of momentum, of important momentum for Homeport, that all of us, and I loved what Don Casto said, when he looked at all of us through that video and said, "What can you do?" And I think now is the time for all of us to recommit ourselves, to think about what we can do so that one day we will know when we go to bed at night that every other family in Central Ohio has a safe, secure, and affordable place to call home. Thank you very much.
Bob, once again, thank you, and congratulations to not only you, the MI family, for all the work that you've done and all the support that you've continued to provide, not only for us, but for the community. Well, before we close out, I want to thank our tremendously hardworking Homeport staff, especially the incomparable Maud Hill. Not to mention Laverne Price, Ray George, and Steve Nickel for devoting many, many hours to making tonight's celebration a success. It can't be said enough. There are 54,000 families in Central Ohio counting on us to help provide affordable, safe housing. And while we are gratified that much is happening, much still needs to be done. We hope that the messages delivered tonight have resonated. And as Don Casto did note, you will continue to make an investment in Homeport, just as many of our founders, including the Schottensteins, have for the past 32 years. We appreciate all of your participation tonight, especially for those also who were contributed through the videos on the slides and took the time to do that. And of course, we can't thank our sponsors enough. Thank you again for those for whom our work would not be possible. First of all, our strong community sponsors, our cornerstone sponsors, our education empowerment sponsors, and our opportunity sponsors, and of course, all of you, the rest of you who have helped make Homeport the way, the company it is. Thank you. Well, as we close, I first of all like to make sure that you all have a safe trip home. And when you get there, mark your calendars for the next Voice and Vision celebration on October 15th, 2020. But before we leave, we have a little bit of a special surprise to end our celebration. So Bob, we know your dad loved Ohio State. We know you love Ohio State. And most particularly, loved the best damn band in the land. And so, as we go out tonight, good night and go Bucks.